Welcome to Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kale, your astrologer, and welcome to August. Can you even? I can't even believe we're in August, but here we are. And August begins with a bang. So we're going to get into an overview of this month. It's a pivotal month, bringing us to a fork in the road. But before I get into it, a huge thank you for being here. Appreciate your support and subscribing to the channel. That way you'll be notified of videos. Let's get into August because August is due to be a month that we're long going to remember. It's as I've mentioned, a pivotal month and bringing us to a huge fork in the road. And there's a need for self-awareness as we move through this month. So in this video, I'm just going to get into about 5 or 6 major events that are, or things that we need to look for in August. And of course, I'll get into the daily aspects and moon's aspects and the weekly audios and videos. So do subscribe and sign up so you have those as well. But first of all, as we enter August, we're now in Leo season. And we're moving to a Leo new moon on the 4th of August. And as the new moon aligns, Venus will be at 29 degrees of Leo, really heightening this Leo energy. And then Mercury stations retrograde a day later. So more on that in a minute. But we are in Leo season this month. So Leo is a sign that speaks of the self, of our self-confidence, of our ability to be spontaneous and courageous and vulnerable and lead with the heart. Leo rules the heart. It's ruled by the sun, which speaks of our primary consciousness. As we enter the month, it's important now that you're really reconnecting with that light within and the consciousness within, and really dropping the mask and being really honest with yourself, because Leo above all asks for that authenticity, to be able to show up and be authentic in the world and dare to show up as ourselves, to free ourselves, to be ourselves. So then we can create a life that really reflects our inner truth. Leo's energy is also very creative. It speaks of our sexuality, our creativity, true love, romance, fun, a sense of youth, and our ability to stay present in the moment. It really represents this eternal here and now. Think of the sun, it's the center of our solar system. As far as we're concerned, each one of us is the center of our own personal universe. And what matters now is what you're radiating out into your world. Leo rules the heart, so it's that there's a need to lead with the heart and to be open-hearted and vulnerable and courageous and compassionate for us, have compassion for ourselves and others, other than, have our pride and ego and defenses up, or needs for validation, or having the ego rule our choices, because ultimately that just keeps out what we truly desire. Being able to share the love and we feel and want to experience and receive. As the sun moves through Leo, and certainly as we enter the month, keep an open heart, dare to show up as authentically as possible. This may feel scary. There may be that feeling of feeling exposed or vulnerable, but lean into that. There's strength in our vulnerability. It's not a weakness. The more we can lean into it, that we can experience this sense of liberation and a feeling of being able to come home to ourselves. Moves through Leo, embody this energy, be spontaneous. And I just want to give you an overview, so I'm trying to keep going here. Have faith as you move through this month, above all. Faith in yourself, faith in the universe, and in existence. Leo's energy, again, being that primary consciousness, and it rules the heart. It's a reminder that, life is happening through us. We don't even control our heartbeats. There's a greater consciousness that is alive within us. And it's the ego that, limits us to these limited identifications of our name and our profession and where we live and what we do in this world. Ultimately, Leo season is a chance to reconnect with that light within, which is beyond all these identifications of the ego. That is love, actually. So love is not something we have or we give or we share. It's our being itself. So it's tuning into that vibration of love in our heart within and radiating that out into the world. Then life can blossom around us. Next major thing this month is Venus. Venus at the Time of the Leo new moon is at 29 Leo, just heightening this Leo energy and this need to, be open hearted and lead with the heart. On the 4th of August, Venus enters Virgo and will be moving through Virgo until the 29th of August when she enters a home sign, which is Libra. And that's really good news for everyone. So, through August, there really is a sense of us being able to heal our hearts and our finances and our creative projects and to really get things working and back on track where there's been tension, or if there's been tension, or if our egos and hearts have been feeling bruised and raw. This is a chance to heal our hearts and really soothe, simplify things so life can work better for everyone involved. A great time to really get organized in all respects. It's a great time to look at where you have Virgo in your chart, because that's specifically where this energy is playing out, especially. But it's a great time to, clean house, get organized, clean up your workspace, your artwork. Financially, you could create a budget, financial planning for creative projects as well. There are creative solutions for everything. It's a matter of us looking for those solutions and, not focusing on the problem. And in relationships, definitely, avoid looking for flaws, because as my Amma says, if we look for flaws, we'll find them in everyone. Because being able to see the beauty in something. Connections, it's the little things that count. It's the little thoughtful gestures and the little heartfelt gestures that matter. Now, stationary at the time of Venus's ingress, and I'm going to talk about Mercury retrograde in a minute. With Venus in Virgo, there really is a chance to, have heartfelt conversations and reach a deeper understanding with others in our life. So, and renegotiate important arrangements so they work for everyone. Virgo speaks about teamwork. So, whatever help you need, whether it's financial, emotional, help is on offer, and it is close at hand. It's just a matter of us being willing to ask for the help, perhaps, or being solution oriented, where we can see how we can pool our resources together towards a common cause. It's about teamwork, being on the same team, which means sometimes there is a need to make sacrifices. That doesn't mean you need to sacrifice yourself, because then resentment builds. But if we can keep healing the focus, then we can find solutions that really work for everyone involved. Avoid focusing on a lack of anything. Virgo energy can be critical, and it is a Mercury rule sign, and the heart, and it's a very logical sign. And the heart really rarely ever thinks logically. The heart has its own logic. That can be the danger, where we're overanalyzing something that we really need to be looking at with the eyes of the heart. So stay tuned into your heart, and then you can find loving, creative solutions for whatever situation you face. Second, Venus squares Jupiter and opposes Saturn at the full moon on the 19th of August, along with a cluster of aspects where Jupiter squares Saturn, Mars is conjunct Jupiter. And this is a defining moment in our relationships, in our financial situations, creative projects, where we're really reaching a turning point and a milestone for us to get really real with ourselves. There is a way forward to materialize a vision or a dream, or, in our relationships, or with anything that feels right now too insurmountable, perhaps a task. Keep the big picture in mind rather than worry too much about what's not perfect in the moment. It's just about making progress. So if you can take things a day at a time, trust your next steps will be revealed to you, and the solutions will arise and the resources will show up, or the support you need will show up. There's that need for patience as we build towards something that we value, and anything worth having is worth, waiting for. It's a matter of are we willing to work towards it. And Virgo represents that daily process of putting in our time, money, resources, heart, energy into something so we can nurture it to life. About tending to the garden of our life and focusing on our attention on what matters and what's starting to blossom, so it can actually grow, rather than pay attention to the past or what's not working and what we're leaving behind. It's a matter of, is this constructive ultimately? On the whole, this Venus in Virgo transit be a chance to heal, especially where you have Virgo in your chart. Because the next major thing that's happening is we've got Mercury stations retrograde soon after Venus enters Virgo. We're learning information now, showing us where things need to heal, or what is and is not working, and what we can actually nurture and build on. And Mercury's retrograde is going to bring second chances on something that we thought we couldn't see a way forward, but now suddenly we can see how we can work something out, or there are solutions. And especially when it comes to relationships, as long as two people are willing to communicate and find common ground and focus on a common goal, then you can work something out. Mercury stations at 4 degrees of Virgo. So pay attention, especially, I mean, if you have any planets in Virgo, you're going to feel this more personally. But especially if you have planets around 4 degrees of Virgo, or then Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, you're going to feel this Mercury retrograde very personally. And then Mercury retrogrades back into Leo, conjunct the Sun on the 18th of August, crystallizing a message. So pay attention to what comes up around the 18th of August, especially. Anytime the Sun and Mercury are conjunct, known as a Sun Mercury Kazemi, tend to have an audience with someone important, or there's some conversation or information that comes through bringing home an important message to us about a truth of our own being. Attention to the conversations you're having right now. There may be conversations with VIPs or an audience with a VIP, just reflecting an important truth to you about yourself and your potential. There are opportunities arising, showing you new ways forward. And then Mercury will finally station direct on the 28th of August. And at this point, Mercury will be back at the degree it was around the 17th of July. So you might want to look back at what was happening around the 17th of July, because Mercury stations direct. In September, it's going to be recovering that territory. For now, with Mercury retrograde, recovering territory that we've been in through most of July already, renegotiating important conversations, understanding situations on a deeper level, understanding the deeper layers of situations, and trust this process. This is a learning curve, especially in Virgo. Again, it's a daily process of learning and a daily process of communication. That said, if there's tension and if there's a sense of communication breakdown, yes, it is possible to have healing conversations. But if it feels like a situation is too tense, silence may be the better answer, because Virgo in the tarot is a sign that's associated with the Hermit card. And the Hermit card moves within, and Mercury rules the mind. So, Mercury being retrograde, it really is, aside from a mundane level of whatever else is going on in your life, it really is a chance to move within and introspect. Silence may be the better answer, and silence may help simplify situations rather than overcomplicate them with a lot of communication. Above all, paying attention to our mental health, almost necessary to cultivate some sort of meditation practice or spiritual practice where you're able to quiet the mind, and some sort of devotional practice so you can connect with that inner consciousness. During a retrograde, it's ideally not the best time to initiate any new communication. Or even if you do, it might not last or might change shape or form once Mercury is direct. So these are just the general things around Mercury retrograde that we need to be aware of. That said, life happens and we just have to do our best. But having awareness of where the planets are at and where we're at does help. Mercury retrograde is an ideal time to renegotiate existing arrangements, maybe reconnecting with people from our past. If there's been tension or if there's been any hurt or upset, this could be a time when we can find closure on the past, find healing and forgiveness. We need not repeat cycles, but at least being able to let the past go so we can wipe the slate clean and move ahead without something pulling and tugging on our energy or living rent free in our head. Ultimately, forgiveness is something that helps us more than the other person. And we can be free to devote our energy to what really matters. An existing connection be a time to reach deeper levels of understanding with another. If there are exes or people from the past coming back, this ideally is a time to just find closure rather than reignite something. Just you move slowly, at least, until Mercury is direct, then you'll know where things really stand. Mercury re-enters Leo on the 14th of August. Drop the ego, pride, defenses, and to communicate from the heart and to listen to your own heart and be honest with yourself above all. Then you can be honest with others. Mercury stations direct on the 28th of August. Pay attention to what was surfacing back on the 17th of July. Now we can move ahead with a renewed understanding of our choices and where things stand and how we want to move ahead. Because there's so much that's shifting before that in August that by the time we get to the end of August, we're going to be seeing things completely differently. As you enter August, even if things seem to be falling apart or you're seeing problems, don't be too quick to judge something and be patient with the process as daily process as more is revealed to you, and stay present and stay in the present moment as much as you can. The greater backdrop of August, not just August, but what's shaping our lives now from between now to June next year. Jupiter and Saturn are both outer planets. Square between these planets affects not just us personally, but our collective reality is shifting. So events that are happening out in the world will ultimately also come home to us. At the time of the square, Mars is conjunct Jupiter, and Mars is a personal planet, and Mars very much speaks to the individual and our individual sense of drive and passion and what sense of being. Even world is changing, is at a pivotal moment, and so are we, and we're reshaping, and this is all unfolding at the time of the Aquarius full moon, which speaks of the collective while Leo speaks of the individual. So there's very much, as we reach the middle of the month, this sense of a huge turning point and us having to really be discerning in our choices and needing to have that absolute self-awareness and brutal honesty with ourselves about who we are, where we stand, what we're creating for the future, the past that we're leaving behind, and then having alignment, our intentions, thoughts, words, and deeds moving ahead, because we're moving through, again, a very dense patch of astrology with potent aspects, defining aspects, life defining aspects. This really is a chance to reshape our lives in a way that aligns with our innermost self. Saturn is also the ruler of Aquarius, adding weight to this alignment. But Jupiter and Saturn are the two teachers of the zodiac. So we are learning important lessons. There's a need for balance between having a vision and then knowing the time and the sacrifice and the energy and the commitment that will take to realize or materialize a vision. We're also learning that we have what it takes to materialize a vision. So what matters now is what we want. Mars will be conjunct Jupiter at the time of this alignment, and also, square Saturn. So in the midst of this huge turning point, there's that need for that absolute self-awareness and honesty with yourself so that you're not sawing off the branch you're sitting on. Easy to do that as well under these aspects, depending on how this is playing out for you and in your chart. We're all interconnected, and certainly the aspects at the middle of the month, as Jupiter square Saturn, we're learning how interconnected we are and how interdependent we are on each other, and how much of a network we are with the community around us. Also, at the time of this Jupiter Saturn square, Venus will be square Jupiter and opposing Saturn. So our relationships are also reaching a defining moment and a turning point and a milestone. And, we're having to look at our boundaries, reflect on our boundaries, make and decide what we're committing to financially, emotionally, in our relationships, creative projects. This is whatever we're trying to materialize now will require our commitment, and this can't be half-hearted. This is going to have to be wholehearted. So with Mercury retrograde, we may be reevaluating our commitments right now on a deep level. So trust this process. Anything that's right for you, you can't really lose. In fact, if anything, it will be strengthened through a process and the tests that we're moving through right now. And so this is very thick, dense energy, and we really are being put to the test. It may feel like we're on a cross right now, but have faith above all that whatever's unfolding now, again, is a challenge you can rise to. Let me talk about this Jupiter Saturn square a little bit more before I move on. because this is the first of three Jupiter-Saturn squares. The second one takes place in December, and then the third one takes place next year in June. But at the time, Jupiter will be in Cancer and Saturn will be in Aries. Right now, Jupiter is in Gemini, Saturn's in Pisces. So at the time of this Jupiter Saturn square with Mars conjunct Jupiter, it's really bringing home the narrative of Jupiter and Gemini for us. You may want to look back at what was unfolding around the 23rd of May when Jupiter entered Gemini. The end of May and the first 3 weeks of June, while the planets were moving through Gemini, we got a glimpse into some of the storylines that we're dealing with. You have Gemini in your chart because with Jupiter's presence here, this area of your life is being magnified. Specifically, the contrast in this area of your life is likely being magnified. So if you're experiencing any sense of heightened contrast, the message really is to try to come back to yourself and come back to the middle. This duality we experience, it's an illusion. It's our perceptions that create this illusion of separation. With Mars conjunct Jupiter, rather than getting caught up in the illusion and creating a separation, it's more about us moving beyond the illusion of duality on a very metaphysical, spiritual level. Then we can really look at our choices and make the best choices in faith and in our most optimistic vision of what's possible. We're being careful not to in anger react to situations. It's important that we're responding to situations with self-awareness, and that's why meditation really helps, because it creates this space between in a moment where we're not so reactive and we have the space to really think about our response and reflect on how we want to respond to something. With Jupiter and Gemini, need for wisdom. There's a need to look at the big picture. To also be aware that we're not biting off more than we can chew. Well, nothing's impossible, but it will take time to materialize, and that's what Saturn and Pisces is teaching us. Saturn is the planet of time, and Pisces is the sign that speaks of the great creative void out of which everything is born. It's a sign of divinity. So all things are possible right now with this Jupiter-Saturn square, and this really is, any square is an inner resolution. So we're having to reclaim our own inner authority to manifest a vision and to live our life according to the sense of inner authority. This will require courage to have total self-acceptance. We're reshaping not just our personal reality, but our collective reality as well by our ability to be true to ourselves and live our lives authentically. Our whole lives have led us up to this moment. So we've got to have faith that whatever lies ahead of us, this is a challenge that we can rise to, and have humility and, in understanding that things may take time and we're learning important lessons. But if we're committed to something and if our heart is in it, then this is something that we can absolutely create and manifest in our lives. It just matters, what matters is now that we're being true to ourselves. The second Jupiter-Saturn square takes place on the 24th of December. So that's when we're going to see the next stage in development of events that are now unfolding, the next major turning point. So think of this as a, bigger unfolding that's happening. And then the final stage, once Jupiter and Saturn enter, change signs, will happen in June next year. So that's going to be a very different quality to this energy, but it's still that turning point. So think that what you're setting in motion now and the adjustments that you're making now, next stage of building this will be around December, or the next turning point or the next step in this process, major step, significant step, will be around December. So that gives us a clue into the timing of how long something's going to take. After mid-month, things get a lot easier. So just think of mid-month as this hurdle and speed bump that we're moving over, where life really is asking us to slow down and pay attention because we're moving through some really important lessons, life lessons. 23rd of August, the sun leaves Leo and enters Virgo. And on the same day, Venus squares Mars. So this is exciting because Venus, anytime Venus is square Mars, our relationships are highlighted, financial, creative matters are highlighted, and a square, this is very passionate. It's best, there can be deep healing here as relationships also reach a turning point. And really, it's us reaching a turning point within ourselves, into understanding ourselves better and understanding our desires better, what we need from our connections and what we're bringing to the table in our connections, and what does and does not work for us, and what needs to heal, and how we can show up better in our relationships, so we're working as a part of a team rather than only paying attention to our interests. Because the sun now is moving from that Leo energy, which is, yes, fun, playful, romantic, loving, but also, can be a little self-centered at times. So with the shift of the sun into Virgo, now we're more focused on how we can make our relationships work as a team, work together to build something and step into this new world that we're creating together. Once the sun enters Virgo, we're entering a whole new season. This is earthy energy. Virgo is an earth sign, and it's a Mercury ruled sign. So it's also, again, geared towards organizing and planning and putting together systems, and represents our daily processes. So towards the end of the month, we're getting into a whole new groove in life. The seasons are changing, and it's the end of summer here in the north, end of winter down in the south. So similarly, down here below in our lives as well, there is a shift that's taking place. We're transitioning into a new landscape, and we're getting into a new groove of life. So take things a day at a time. As we tune in to our needs and desires and what is and isn't working for us, we can make adjustments moving ahead, because now Mercury is also newly direct, and or about to station direct, sorry, rather. And we're reaching the end of this Mercury retrograde phase, which on the 28th of August, Mercury stations direct, and then communication can start moving ahead again, bringing us a better understanding of where things stand and how we want to move forward from here. Our choices are creating our reality, so the choices that we are making, we can make them with greater self-awareness. On the 29th of August, Venus leaves Virgo to enter Libra. This is a day after Mercury's direct station. So certainly there's a sense that, as Mercury stations direct, the communication that's coming through, Venus shifting into Libra, her home sign, the next day, relationships are balancing out, financial matters are balancing out, creative projects can also flourish in this climate with Venus being in her home sign. And Venus will trine Pluto immediately the next day. So there are deep changes in effect, and this is a powerful evolution, transformation, and at best, we are evolving and lightening, letting go of the past, so we can fully embrace the future that's we're starting to create now. Because another major factor in all of this, but certainly not least, Pluto is now preparing to re-enter Capricorn for the final time in its transit since 2008. And Pluto will enter Capricorn on the 1st of September, re-enter Capricorn, I should say, on the 1st of September, after Venus trines Pluto, while Pluto is in Aquarius. Pluto will leave Capricorn on the 17th of November. I'll have more to say about this next month, but this transit of Pluto in Capricorn between the 1st of September and the 17th of November, we're wrapping up unfinished business, and especially stuff that came up even at the end of July, at the time, 21st of July, around then, when we had a Capricorn full moon. Pluto is now going to be triggering the degree of that lunation. So it may help to look back at what was unfolding at the end of July, as well as look at what was going on in January, because that's when Pluto was last at this 29 degrees of Capricorn, shifting into Aquarius. So I'll have a lot more to say about Pluto's transit in Capricorn next month. Just to recap everything that I've said here, we're recovering a lot of the territory that we've been in July, with Mercury retrograde this month. But that said, we are in the process of reshaping our lives and realigning our lives and realigning ourselves with ourselves, realigning with ourselves. so that we can create a life that's in alignment with who we are today. It's a huge month, and certainly the middle of the month brings us to that defining moment of truth. Be honest with yourself. This is really a chance to shift the trajectory of our life in a way that really starts working for us and gives back to us as much as we give to it. So that's August in a quick nutshell. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could talk about, and I'm sure I'll think of a lot more things I want to say. And subscribe to the channel so you will stay notified when I make new videos and upload new videos. But thank you so much for watching and being here and supporting the channel. And I wish you a very fun and exciting month of August and healing month of August. Sending you my love wherever you are. Namaste.